Roman Reigns sends warning message to Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman. The tribal chief is done playing games, and someone's about to pay the price. Last night on WWE Raw, tensions exploded backstage as Roman Reigns found out Bronson Reed had once again stolen one of his custom sneakers. Now Reigns is out for blood, sending a chilling message to Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, and anyone daring to cross him. In this exclusive video, we break down the wild events from Raw, Roman's fiery warning, and what this means heading into next week. Will Bronson Reed regret crossing the head of the table? The night began like any other on WWE Raw, a charged crowd, anticipation in the air, and whispers backstage that Roman Reigns was finally making his move. For weeks, the tribal chief had remained silent, watching from the shadows as chaos unfolded around him. Paul Heyman had once been his closest advisor. Seth Rollins, his bitter rival turned occasional ally. But none of them expected what Roman had planned or the firestorm that would ignite with just one stolen sneaker. Yes, you heard that right. A sneaker. But this wasn't just any sneaker. This was his sneaker. A custom-made, blood-red Air Jordan 1 with gold tribal accents. A design that symbolized more than fashion. It symbolized power, legacy, and identity. And for the second time in 2 months, Bronson Reed had stolen it. The first time was dismissed as a prank. A laugh backstage. Even Roman himself smirked at the audacity. But the second time? The second time wasn't funny. It was war. Backstage footage leaked just hours before Raw showed Roman pacing furiously in the locker room, his voice sharp and seething, berating security and demanding answers. And then, just as the live show returned from commercial, his music hit. Thunderous. Relentless. The tribal horns blared through the arena, and the crowd erupted. He didn't come with Paul Heyman. He didn't come with Solo Sikoa. He didn't come with any of the bloodline. Roman Reigns walked out alone, hoodie drawn over his head, face like stone. This was not a segment. This was a statement. The camera zoomed in, capturing the cold in his eyes. He stepped into the ring slowly, holding something in his right hand. It was the stolen sneaker. The camera panned closer. It was torn, dirted, desecrated. And Roman? He looked like a man who had finally snapped. He raised the mic slowly. "You think this is a game?" he growled, his voice low and simmering. "You think stealing from me, the head of the table, is something you walk away from?" He paused, letting the moment breathe. The crowd, caught between cheers and tension, quieted. This ain't about shoes," he continued, holding the sneaker up. "This is about disrespect. And disrespect comes with consequences." The WWE Universe watched in stunned silence as Roman dropped the sneaker to the mat and stomped on it. Then he looked straight into the camera, eyes burning. "Bronson Reed," he said, "you've poked the lion for the last time. Next week, I'm not just taking back what's mine. I'm ending your career." The crowd roared, but there was no theatrics in Roman's voice. No clever catchphrase. No smug grin. Just rage. Pure, calculated rage. And then, just as he was about to drop the mic, he added one more line. "And as for you, Paul, you better start praying I don't find out who told him where I keep my gear." The mic hit the canvas. The message was clear. Backstage chaos followed. WWE personnel scrambled to find Bronson Reed. Reporters huddled outside locker rooms, trying to get a reaction from Paul Heyman. And Seth Rollins, who had just returned from a medical checkup on his knee, was seen shaking his head in disbelief, muttering something under his breath as he passed through the hallway. Sources close to the situation revealed that Roman had been holding back for weeks. That his silence since Money in the Bank wasn't surrender, it was strategy. That he had been quietly watching, collecting names, observing betrayals. And now? He was ready to cleanse his house, and Bronson Reed just happened to light the fuse. In the hours following Raw, social media exploded. Fans tweeted images of Roman's destroyed sneaker with captions like, "This man's gonna kill someone next week," and "Bronson messed up bad." WWE's official Instagram posted a slow-motion clip of Roman stomping the sneaker with the caption, "Message sent." But the tension didn't end there. Paul Heyman, cornered outside the arena by a backstage correspondent, refused to answer questions. His eyes darted nervously. His hands shook. He looked less like a mastermind and more like a man who knew he was being watched. And then there was Seth. Seth Rollins had been kept on the periphery of this sneaker saga, but everyone knew he and Roman hadn't spoken in weeks. Their last interaction ended in a stare-down. No words, just a lingering storm between two titans with too much shared history and too much unspoken betrayal. But after Roman's segment on Raw, Rollins reportedly walked into Triple H's office and demanded a sit-down. "If he thinks I'm just going to let him destroy the show again," he was overheard saying, "then he's more delusional than I thought." The war drums were beating louder, and yet, at the center of it all, amid the rumors, whispers, and finger-pointing, stood one undeniable truth. Roman Reigns wasn't here to entertain anymore. He was here to reclaim everything that had been taken from him. Respect. Authority. Control. This wasn't about a sneaker. This was about legacy. Back in the locker room, Roman reportedly issued a second warning, this time off camera. According to two insiders, Roman told the Bloodline's private chat, "If I find out Heyman's playing both sides, I'll burn this entire kingdom down." No emojis. No punctuation. Just venom. Bronson Reed, for his part, tried to play it cool. In an Instagram story that night, he posted a photo of himself holding up both sneakers with the caption, "Light work. Come find me." It was bold. It was stupid. And it might just cost him everything, because Roman Reigns isn't the same man who used to laugh off pranks and walk away from disrespect. He's changed. Hardened. And right now, he's walking a line between vengeance and madness. There's a reason WWE officials are reportedly beefing up security for next week's Raw. There's a reason Triple H has asked Paul Heyman for a closed-door meeting. And there's a reason why, for the first time in a long time, Seth Rollins is aligning with people he once hated. He knows what's coming. We all do, and it's not just about Roman versus Bronson. It's about the slow, calculated collapse of everything the Bloodline once stood for. It's about the betrayal of trust between Paul Heyman and the man he called his tribal chief. It's about Seth Rollins, watching the chaos unfold from the edge of the storm, wondering if now is the time to strike or stay far, far away, and at the center of it all, a sneaker. A symbol. A warning, and Roman Reigns dead-eyed, dangerous, and done playing games. The WWE Universe is holding its breath, because next week on Raw, vengeance walks in custom Jordans. By the time the dust had settled after Raw went off the air, the real war hadn't even begun. Roman Reigns may have exited the ring, but the backstage tension only thickened with every passing minute. And this time, it wasn't just Bronson Reed in the firing line, it was anyone who dared to test the tribal chief's patience. Especially Paul Heyman. In the locker room, whispers swirled like smoke. Some superstars avoided the halls altogether. Others peeked cautiously from behind doors, praying they wouldn't be next. Roman wasn't storming around or screaming, he didn't have to. His silence was scarier than any promo, any beatdown. When Roman goes quiet, people start packing their bags. Backstage sources say Roman was stone-faced, sitting with the door locked, eyes fixed on a monitor replaying Bronson Reed's Instagram post on a loop. Every second, the video glitched and repeated Reed holding up his stolen sneakers with that smug, unapologetic grin. For every loop, Roman's expression grew colder. There was no smile, no fury, just a stillness that spoke of something much, much worse, calculation, and then, something snapped. Security cameras reportedly captured Roman exiting his locker room in complete silence, sneaker in hand. He made his way down the hallway, past catering, past production, until he reached the dressing room area for guests. No camera crew. No audience. Just Roman Reigns, unfiltered. Standing outside that door was none other than Paul Heyman. Heyman had been lingering all night, looking increasingly nervous. Gone was the confident wise man. What remained was a shell. Shaking hands, darting eyes, a man who had clearly made too many promises to too many people, Roman stopped, stared, then raised the sneaker in his hand. "This," Roman said slowly, "was in my bag." Heyman gulped. I don't pack your bags, my tribal chief, Heyman replied, almost whispering. Exactly, Roman muttered. So why did Bronson know which bag to look in? Silence, and then Roman leaned in, barely inches from Heyman's face. I've seen snakes in this business, Paul. But the thing about snakes is they always bite the hand that feeds them. That's when Heyman's face dropped. That's when it became clear, Roman suspected betrayal. Not from an enemy, but from within. From someone who once swore loyalty to the bloodline. The man who once called him the greatest champion of all time. But loyalty means nothing when the locker room is fractured, and Seth Rollins, he was watching. Earlier that evening, Seth had been spotted in the trainer's room, icing his recovering knee and speaking with his team. He was scheduled to return at SummerSlam, but Roman's outburst may have changed everything. According to one anonymous trainer, Seth's demeanor shifted the moment Roman's promo aired. He reportedly asked for updated clearance reports, demanded one-on-one time with Triple H, and said something chilling. If he wants war, then let's make it personal. This isn't just about a sneaker anymore. It's about control. Seth Rollins had clawed his way to the top of Raw. He didn't do it with bloodline favors. He did it with grit, charisma, and championship gold. And now Roman's return threatened to shatter the fragile order Seth had built. But unlike before, Seth wasn't alone anymore. He had allies. A faction in the shadows. Rumors of a new alliance building around him, wrestlers tired of being pawns in Roman's chess game, and perhaps the most shocking? Jey Uso. Whispers backstage suggest Jey may have secretly reached out to Seth following his breakdown with Solo Sikoa and the implosion of the Bloodline 2.0. If that's true, it means the walls around Roman are closing in from every direction. But back to the fire that lit the match, Bronson Reed. What started as a prank has turned into a death sentence. WWE higher-ups are reportedly trying to de-escalate the situation, urging Reed to issue a public apology. But Bronson? He's doubling down. He posted a new video just hours after Raw ended. This time, he wasn't holding the sneaker, he was wearing it. In the gym. Training. Sweating. Caption, training in royalty. Let's see if the king can catch me. It didn't take long for Roman to respond. Not on social media. Not in an interview. But through one short, bone-chilling message sent to WWE management. Put me in the ring with him. No gimmicks. No interference. Just me and what's mine. Triple H is reportedly hesitant. The match isn't officially booked, but sources say security is already preparing for anything next Monday on Raw. WWE is aware that Roman doesn't make idle threats. And when he walks into a building with revenge on his mind, no one is safe. Even Paul Heyman has requested additional security outside his suite at the next show. One of the newer producers, an anonymous former wrestler, summed it up best when he said, "This isn't about a shoe. It's about Roman reminding everyone that he runs this place." And if Heyman and Seth thought he was done, they've got another thing coming. Meanwhile, backstage tensions continue to rise. Multiple WWE superstars have reportedly voiced concern about being dragged into the chaos. Some are refusing to do promos involving Roman without additional creative oversight. One source said, "It's like everyone's afraid of getting caught in his crosshairs. One minute you're on the show, the next you're getting destroyed because of a shoe." But others? They're watching with intrigue. Drew McIntyre reportedly said off camera, "Maybe it's about time someone taught Roman a lesson." Even Cody Rhodes, who's largely stayed out of the bloodline fallout, was seen discussing Roman's promo with Sami Zayn. Neither man seemed impressed. Roman Reigns has always been a polarizing figure. He's dominated SmackDown, unified the titles, and built a legacy so untouchable it became dangerous. But now that legacy is threatened, not just by his enemies, but by his own paranoia. The question now isn't if Roman Reigns will retaliate. The question is, who else will fall in the crossfire? Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, Bronson Reed. They're just the names on the surface. But if Roman is truly spiraling, if this rage runs deeper than a stolen sneaker, then the entire locker room could be in danger. And one thing's for sure, next week's Raw is no longer just another show. It's a battleground. Will Bronson Reed show up? Or will he back down? Will Paul Heyman finally break and reveal his true allegiance? Will Seth Rollins choose to wait? Or will he strike first? And Roman Reigns, what will he do if no one listens to his warning? Because when the tribal chief feels disrespected, he doesn't just make statements, he makes examples. And in 7 days' time, someone's going to find out just how far Roman is willing to go to remind the world who really runs WWE. As the days tick down toward the next Raw, the tension across WWE reached unbearable levels. It wasn't just the superstars feeling the pressure. It was the executives, the agents, the production crews. Everyone could feel the storm building, and all roads pointed toward a reckoning inside the squared circle. Roman Reigns had issued his threat loud and clear. He wasn't just coming to Raw next week for a promo. He was coming for vengeance, for blood, for control. And if the company tried to stop him, they would be swept away with everyone else. Inside WWE headquarters, there was panic behind closed doors. Multiple meetings were reportedly held to determine how best to handle the growing feud. Triple H, sitting at the center of it all, found himself between two massive egos, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and a wild card in Bronson Reed, who had now become both a meme and a target. One source described it like this: Roman's not just angry. He's insulted. There's a difference. When Roman's angry, he'll throw fists. But when he's insulted, he'll burn the whole show to the ground just to prove a point. And yet, despite every attempt to de-escalate, Bronson Reed continued pouring gasoline on the fire. Less than 72 hours before Raw, Reed released another clip to social media. This time, he stood outside the Foot Locker store at a Los Angeles mall, holding up another pair of red and gold custom sneakers. "You didn't think I'd stop at just two, did you?" He laughed. "Maybe I'll auction these off. Call it tribal kicks." The video went viral within minutes. Hashtag tribal kicks began trending on X, formerly Twitter. Fans laughed. Others warned him he was signing his own death warrant. Even non-WWE celebrities chimed in, including Logan Paul, who tweeted, "Bro's either fearless or has a death wish." But for Roman Reigns, it wasn't funny. The man had been pushed to his psychological limit. Not since the betrayal of Jey Uso or the humiliating ending to his title reign had Roman been this emotionally exposed. He had spent the better part of a decade building an empire, a dynasty called the Bloodline. He had ruled over WWE with an iron fist, standing tall as the tribal chief, demanding loyalty, obedience, and silence. And now? A joke. A sneaker. A mid-carder turned internet troll was dancing on his legacy like it meant nothing. But perhaps the most disturbing revelation came when internal texts between Paul Heyman and Bronson Reed were leaked by an unknown insider. In one of the texts, allegedly sent 2 weeks before the second sneaker theft, Heyman writes, "Make it look like a joke. It'll light the fire under him. He needs it." The message was brief, but the implications were explosive. Was Heyman trying to provoke Roman Reigns? Was this whole feud orchestrated as a manipulation tactic to bring Roman back to his old self, dominant, destructive, hungry? If true, it would explain everything. Why Reed kept escalating. Why Paul kept dodging questions. Why Seth Rollins, too, seemed almost too prepared for the fallout. And maybe, just maybe, Roman was right to suspect betrayal. The WWE Universe began to turn. Suddenly, Bronson Reed wasn't the underdog playing a prank. He was a puppet in a bigger game. And Paul Heyman? The once-beloved mastermind? Fans were beginning to wonder if the puppet master had finally gone too far. But perhaps the most telling shift came from Seth Rollins. In a shocking twist, Seth posted a cryptic video just 1 day before Raw. The camera was grainy, the lighting dark. A single spotlight glowed above him as he sat alone in a steel chair, face serious. "You don't poke the bear," he began. "You don't slap the king. And you definitely don't steal from a man who has nothing left to lose." He paused, smirking slightly. "But I'm not afraid of Roman Reigns. Never have been. Never will be. And if he wants a war, he knows where to find me." He leaned closer. "I'll be waiting." The clip ended. The internet exploded. Now, WWE had 3 converging forces: Roman Reigns, full of fury and betrayal; Bronson Reed, arrogant and defiant, and Seth Rollins, finally ready to face the chaos head-on. And in the background, like a ghost haunting all three men, stood Paul Heyman, silent, manipulative, waiting for his next move. Backstage, the atmosphere ahead of Raw was said to be unlike anything in recent memory. Security presence doubled. Production teams were told to have backup equipment ready in case of unscripted violence. Talent was warned that anything could happen. This wasn't hype. It was reality. One anonymous producer confided, "Roman's not taking direction right now. He's doing things his way. That's dangerous. Especially when he's been betrayed by the very people who were supposed to protect him." And then, just 1 hour before Raw went live, a black SUV pulled up in the arena's loading dock. Out stepped Roman Reigns. Dressed in a black Bloodline hoodie, hood up, face unreadable. He didn't look at the fans waiting nearby. He didn't stop for cameras. He walked straight toward the locker room with a slow, deliberate pace. And in his right hand, a duffel bag. Everyone knew what was in it. Later that night, just before the main event segment, the lights went down, the screen cut to black, and then Roman's voice echoed across the arena, "No more games." The lights returned, and there he was standing in the ring, center stage. Alone. He held the mic up again, and this time, he told a story. "Years ago, I was told to lead this place. I didn't ask for it. I didn't want it. But I took it. I built an empire. I built the Bloodline. I carried this company when no one else could. I bled for this. I sacrificed for this. And what did I get?" He turned toward the camera. "Paul Heyman leaking my bag location. Seth Rollins waiting for my fall. Bronson Reed disrespecting my name." He shook his head. "You want the old Roman? You want the monster I used to be? Be careful what you ask for." The crowd erupted. Some cheered. Others fell silent. And then he dropped the final line. "Next week, Bronson Reed doesn't fight a superstar. He fights a ghost. A shadow. A reckoning. The Lig."